Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
Hello, Ben.
Hello, May. Hello. It's been a couple of weeks.
Is it?
Yeah, you weren't on last week, were you?
Oh, yeah, I was
just
on
Adel
last
and I,
week,
wasn't
yeah.
it? Yes, yes.
And now we're short of a Canadian.
Yes, well, he's in Canada.
Yes.
Yes, doing Canadian things, I guess.
Eating maple syrup. Just be as
Just eating
racist as I can.
Yeah,
just,
yeah, absolutely.
Just smothering it all over his body.
Yes, he'll return in the coming weeks. But we're here to drink some beers, talk about some video games, maybe, if we've played anything. But let's have a look at what we're drinking this evening. Lucy, what are you going to drink?
Yeah.
What are you going to drink?
I'm going to drink a beer. It's non-alcoholic, though, but it's probably from one of my, I call it favourite, preferred non-alcoholic beer makers, which is Brulo. And this is called Tropic of Now, which is a double dry hopped IPA.
Nice.
This has been in the back of my car for I don't know how long, because I forgot about it. Then I found it today as I was moving things about and packing things in and packing things out. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll read what hops that it's got. It's got Citra, Azaka, Sabro, and Columbus. So quite a fair few things. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the nutritional info. It's cool that they put it on these. Well, I guess a lot of the reason why you're drinking alcohol-free beer, I imagine, is for health and diet-wise. So
yeah,
cool that they put that on there. So.
Good, nice. I've got a bit of a special beer. I went searching. It's a beer I went searching for. We shared.
I haven't done that in a while.
I know. We shared that Cloudwater we shared on our Twitter that Cloudwater have started their V series up again. So this is the Cloudwater V series version 14. It is a collaboration with Other Half, which I don't know if any of the other ones were collaboration beers off the top of my head. They might have been. Lots of them, the V series started out as like anniversary beers, special brews that they were putting through, playing on the same kind of formula. It's double IPA, it's 8%. It doesn't give me much more than that on the tin. There's no sort of flavour text. It does say, and it's very, very difficult to read, around the V14, developing experimental modern beer through collaboration. There's no other flavour text on there. So, I mean, there might be some in the blog post that went up on the Cloudwater website when they announced that they were going to be kicking it off again to look at what the recipe is, what hops they're using, what they're actually doing with it. But it's a nice place to start if they're bringing it back. I'm cracking into this one. Lucy, Brulo, you flashed it in front of the camera just now.
Yeah. Smells like a lot of alcohol-free beers do, like slightly lemony. I guess sometimes when you smell like a really fruity beer, it's like sort of got like depths of fruit aroma, and it's like you're picking out like pineapple, like mango, stuff like that. The smell on alcohol-free beers is, whilst very nice, it's just has a little less depth, but still smells great. Like maybe a bit of guava in there, a bit of lemon, maybe a touch of pineapple, but yeah, it smells good. Looks good. Got about one finger of head, quite frothy head left, so looks like a beer. It didn't just pour out looking like water. But yeah, very straw coloured. It's completely hazy. So yeah, I mean, it's looking the part so far.
Nice, nice.
And it's tasting the part.
Good.
I don't know if my palate's a bit skewed because I've been drinking bitter green tea, but it's fairly sweet, and it doesn't have that like kind of artificial sweetness that sometimes you get with alcohol-free beers or just some beers in general, depending on the brewery. Yeah, that like guava and like lychee is very much in the flavor as well, and the taste.
Nice.
It's not as crisp as I'd probably like it to be. It's a lot more smooth, but it isn't like, it doesn't lack crispness because it's like flat, and you think, oh, alcohol-free beer, it's going to be a bit flat. It's not that at all. Whilst it does lack a bit of crispness and little carbonation, it makes up for that in just like, it just tastes very smooth. And I think, I mean, that's got to go to the hops. Just it has a more fruity kind of angle to it, so it's much more of like a very juice bomby New England IPA as opposed to like a West Coast IPA where you're getting more carbonation, more crispness. It's got a much more soft, fruity backbone to it, and it's nice. It's very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Where did you pick this one up from? Because I know the other Brulos, and I've seen the other Brulos in sort of the supermarkets.
I genuinely can't remember because it's been so long. I remember picking it up because I must have, because it was in the back of my car, and I was like, oh, I don't think this is the one that I usually have or see. I think it might have been from actually a Sturchley Wines, which is a specialist bottle shop. So I think it was from there, because yeah, this isn't the one that you typically see in like Tesco or Morrison's or something like that. That's the blue can. I think that's just a normal IPA. But yeah, this is great. Tropic of Now. So yeah, I'm glad I opted for this one.
Nice. Good. Good.
Mm-hmm.
More thoughts later. I have just jumped onto Cloudwater's site just to try and find a little bit more information. And if you jump on, they've got their blog posts reintroducing the series and those kinds of things. If you go onto their shop page for the beer, there is a little bit of kind of flavour text. We are thrilled to announce that we are going back to our roots and setting out once again with the intention of exploring the length and breadth of the world of modern hoppy beer innovations by relaunching our legendary DIPA V series. Long sentence.
Yay.
This version has Nectaron Cryo, a hop variety and product that wasn't available, and Motueka Cryo, which wasn't available as a hop product at the time the original V series released. Should be a D on the end of that. Let's keep exploration alive. Hooray! So Nectaron and Motueka within this. You can see it's hazy, it's thick, I mean, it looks and it smells like a juice bomb from about 2017, 2018. That nose is lovely, like super strong fruit, super strong tropical fruit on there. Maybe some mango and a little bit of melon, perhaps. Jesus Christ. It's not too thick. It's got a little bit of body to it, so it's nice and smooth. Doesn't come across as watery in any way whatsoever. It is quite flat.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of spark of carbonation at the start, pushing maybe a little bit of bitterness that comes back. Maybe a little bit towards the end, but not much carbonation at all. And you'll see it poured almost flat with zero head as well. So
yeah, like juice.
It is juice. It is juice. The nose and the flavour are very, very similar. The flavour's that little bit more bitter, perhaps. It's not a juice bomb of old in terms of being incredibly fruity and incredibly sweetness. this is balanced out a little bit with a nice kind of earthy bitterness to it as well. And again, it's not edging in towards the more modern double IPAs that we've been getting in the last, from about 2 or so years ago, where it has that slightly more kind of vegetal or oniony or earthy kind of tone to it. That is there, but the fruit in this pushes forward as well.
Okay. Does it remind you of the thing of old?
It does, absolutely.
Yeah.
With that kind of, it jumps between a few different things. So with that tiny bit of carbonation and pushing that little bit of kind of bitterness first, that dulls when the carbonation goes, and you get that fruit. You get a little bit of sort of like mango in there. There's something else as well. Again, whether it's mango with a little bit of like honeydew melon or something like that. Something that's a little bit riper, not quite as sweet, but just has a bit of a bittering, a bit of a sour kind of ripeness to it. And then that bitterness floods back in towards the end as well. Although I say it's towards the end, it isn't, because all of this happens quite quickly. This is all kind of done within 5 seconds, and you're just left with this very lasting but quite dry combination of those two flavors. So a little bit of the fruit pushing forward, but then this kind of bitter, slightly more ripe flavor kind of sat together, really. But it's very, very good. It's one I think will go back incredibly quickly, more so than most beers, I would think. Even though you know, the return of a kind of an established series, something to look forward to, you want to sit and savor it a little bit, because it's got that dryness to it, and the flavor doesn't disappear. But now, chatting quite a lot, I want to go back to it. So it's just going to disappear quite quickly. I think that I've now poured the whole tin into my glass, so this is all I've got left, basically.
Yeah, mine's sadly going very quickly as well, because it's just so nice. And yeah, even the taste doesn't, it lingers, but just because it's like nice and refreshing, it's like, I want to go back for more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to just sit and eat my pork scratchings. Shall we just turn off the cameras? And,
absolutely. Well, we can keep the cameras on, just turn off the sound so it doesn't have a...
Because you're going to already have some editing to do. Already tucked into one.
It's fine. We'll drink these then. Let's drink these and talk about some games. Not so we can get the episode over with and go back to eating pork scratchings and drinking beers, but just so we can, you know, get back to eating pork scratchings and drinking beers. Lucy, have you played anything in the last a couple of weeks, I suppose?
No, nothing. Apart from Toem, it's such a good, like, I'm doing it for to get achievements for rewards points.
Yeah.
But it's such a good game just to like dip your toe into each day and play like 5 minutes. It's just very like, it's great. But I am near the end of it, and there's a DLC that they added on after we had played the main game. So yeah, I'll be interested in seeing what that DLC is, because I always wanted to go back to it, but never did, because that's the way things go. But I finally get to play it.
I can't remember though. I think I might have played that on PC. I don't remember.
Yeah, I played it on Steam originally.
Yeah, so. Yeah, interesting, nice. The Toem's got a lovely aesthetic to it.
Yeah,
it's a really good looking game. Very unique as well, I think, in the way that it kind of presents itself too.
Yeah,
and again, incredibly clean UI, especially for like the kind of some of the chaotic stuff that's going on the screen and the characters all moving about and stuff like that. It's just a very clean, very well presented game.
Yeah, like the quick access menu, just like left or right or up and down on the D-pad, just see where you need to go. Yeah, it's really nice controlling game. Yeah, so
When's Toem from? Is it last year or the year before?
I think it was 2 years ago. Wasn't from last year.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely reached my top 10 that year, I think.
Yeah. I'll have to check.
They should make a Toem 2.
Well, I don't imagine it was announced at Jeff Keighley's Spunkfest. Like
well, you say that, and well, Little Nightmares quite big. So Little Nightmares 3 was there, which I still haven't got around to playing the second one. I was very excited for that.
Either.
And then, you know, I got it day one, and then it's still. I don't even know how I own it. Is it on Xbox? I think so.
Just sat somewhere.
It might be on a disc somewhere. I don't even know. Yeah, but the third one looks cool. Different developers. I didn't know.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Bandai Namco kept the IP,
right,
and they've moved it over to Supermassive, which
makes
sense. I mean, yeah, they make horror games all the time, so you know, as long as they got the bones, the tech, the code, well, exact code, but yeah, it's like, yeah, that'll work, you know. It's not like, I don't know, BioWare trying to make Anthem or something like that. It seems like that is doable, so yeah. Was there any Gamescom announcements that you perked your ears up at?
No, I barely seen anything from it.
Yeah, I watched the Keighley. Well, watched. It was on in the background,
right?
Because I saw the lineup of games, and I was like, "Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares?" Like that game and that or that franchise can see a Mortal Kombat or Tekken 8 trailer whenever I please.
Yeah,
you know, it's not exciting. So yeah, I had half an ear on it. Yeah.
I did glance over Twitter or X after the event to see what everyone was talking about, and essentially lots of stuff pushed for Alan Wake 2.
Oh right,
which, again, great trailer, looks great. The previous trailer looked really good as well. I don't have any real kind of grasp on that franchise. I played the first game a little bit. I never played American Nightmare, even though I probably own it on PC. I went back to the first game a little while ago because it was one of the free PlayStation Plus games, like the remastered version. Ran through the first area and then just didn't play it again.
Did the original come to PlayStation?
Originally, I don't know, but as a remastered version, yes.
It was an Xbox exclusive. Oh gosh, I forgot they did a remaster.
Again, from last year or the year before, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was last year.
Maybe even before that. But it came to PlayStation Plus several months ago now. And it's just kind of one of those where I'm like, this is one of the free games, rather than just putting it in my library, I will try it. And I'm like, this is what I remember. I don't really want to play it now. So just put it down.
I played it for the first time probably about 3 years ago or so. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. The second one looks good, but it's just, am I realistically going to get around to playing it? Probably not. Especially if I have to pay for it. That's just not going to happen. You know, I doubt it's going to be like, this is the best game ever and everybody should play it. Like, sort of like Elden Ring, which is probably the last game I bought prior to a game I bought on Tuesday. Scratch that. I bought Blasphemous 2, but...
Oh, yes.
I'll get down and dirty with that when I can just say goodbye to the world and just be alone and see all those weird Catholic
homunculus
babies.
Type fucking things. Yeah. You definitely Blasphemous 2, more so I think than any other kind of Metroidvania, has the kind of aesthetic you've got to be in the mood for.
Oh no, not me. I like that weird stuff.
No, I mean, yeah. What's the
For a normal
point-and-click
person,
adventure studio that's got a similar kind of style that we've spoken about previously? Like it's just that kind of like gore light kind of.
Do you mean
Slightly
gosh,
weird, you know, like someone's walking around, they've got an arm coming out. It might be animated design, yeah. They've got an arm coming out of their head or something, and they're just wandering down the road and shit. Like
this is what I need. You know, I like that weird stuff, and gonna put it on like the Spanish dub.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
The game, just like
just like several bloated babies bouncing towards you.
Yeah, and just repent. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's you know, lighting up the reviews, but I think they're just saying it's just more of Blasphemous, and it's like, that's all I wanted, really.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, fair. Because
you have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, and I didn't bounce off the first one, but I think the curve on the first one put me off that little bit. And again, another game I just put down and never went back to. Whereas I know that you found it, you know, at least the curve for Blasphemous quite easy, I suppose.
Yeah, but I'm just good at these games because this is what I like. Yeah. And yeah, it's just very much known the cadence of each game and stuff. And I probably was that around the time I think I replayed Hollow Knight, and that was easier, much easier on the second time round as well. So I don't know. I'm just sick. These are my games, and I'm just like, yeah. Whilst I find them easy, I just find them so enjoyable. And yeah, I think one of the last games I played, or at least finished, was Fist. So
yes,
yeah, I think that's all I'll do for the rest of my life. Just only play Metroidvanias.
That's
and
fair.
Put everything else to the side.
I think I've had several press releases, you know, 3 or 4 for various different Metroidvanias that are in development or coming out kind of towards the end of the year and next year sort of thing. So
yeah,
yes,
but they got to hit right. They got to hit right. They got to be good.
Sure.
You know? Can't just put out any old tat.
Yeah, are we in the age of just having this dearth of Metroidvanias which do the same thing over and over again? I think there was this sort of like this sort of sweet spot where and again, I can't remember how many years ago it was, but where like you started to have Guacamelee, kind of a bunch of games, Hollow Knight and stuff. You know, it was kind of like almost hit after hit after hit. What's the?
They're all distinct. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
What's the fucking not Castlevania straight up rip off, but the one which is all stained glass
Bloodstained?
Bloodstained. Yes. Yeah.
Stained glass. Yeah. Yeah, Bloodstained. Yeah. I think you might be right. Like, then they were like trying to do things differently, like especially like, as you say, Guacamelee with the whole like wrestling combat, and you know, Hollow Knight had a ton of new ideas, and yes, I think it does feel like we're in a space where it's like, let's not do anything new, but just try and emulate those very good games, which is fine, but it'd be nice if, you know, there's a bit more innovation in that space. But I mean, I'll take what I can get. I'll take scraps at this point. I'm starving, man. I'm starving.
I did see a trailer for Blasphemous 2 today, I think. And whilst obviously it's going to look more of the same, it's a similar kind of art style. It's very gory in what it's doing. There were a few kind of additions that I don't think, or at least that I didn't experience kind of in the first game. You know, the character walks around with this giant sword, and I don't think there was any changing of weapons and stuff. Whereas it looks like in the second game there's maybe a bit of an expansion on that kind of thing. Or, you know, again, it might not be. It might just be what's been picked in the trailer, and you've stolen it off another character, because there are those kind of fatalities almost for some characters, aren't there, where you can just hit them right and actually do a move which is kind of animated to explode them or bash the shit out of them or whatever. So well, it could have been some of that, but maybe there's a little bit.
I think there's a bit of upgrading of weapons in it. Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
So yeah, I think it only came out today, actually.
Yeah, it's today.
yeah, I'll dip into that on my Steam Deck.
Nice.
Broken Sword.
Oh
I guess it would be the
yeah.
6th game in the series. That got announced. I need to look into that a bit more.
Sure, it's
Actually,
the 6th. It feels like Broken Swords had about 25 games.
uh, no, because there were no like spin-offs. But so you had 1, 2, and was it just on 1 and 2 that were 2D, and then they went 3 and 4 for like the 3D. Then 5 went back to 2D, and that was out like a decade ago. That was very good. And now this one will be the 6th one.
Right.
So, yeah, they're remastering. I think the first game I think was also in like a press release, which is a bit weird because it's like I'm sure they already did that. I think I don't know. But yeah, I'm very happy. Hopefully it's good.
Adel and I were talking about last week. Our kind of topic was about returning to older games, and I think I sort of, after talking about going to play Borderlands 3, not a game I played previously, so not sort of necessarily returning to it. I think I came out on the kind of I would go back and play older games if they had done something at the time which was kind of revolutionary within the space and that maybe hasn't been kind of topped since. So I played Civ 6 recently because not many 4X games come up against it. I then switched to Endless Legend, which is a game from nearly 10 years ago again, because it did something different. And I think it's in the back of my mind, this conversation that we'd had, and I'm like, oh, that was a good game, let's have a look back at that. I've actually been playing a little bit of Final Fantasy VIII Remastered as well, because again it did something different to the other kind of Final Fantasies or other RPGs kind of at the time, with its different systems that it had, and its way that you built your characters out and things. So I've gone back to that a little bit. But Broken Sword is a franchise that I played like the first game or the second. I can never remember whether it was the first or second game, but I had it as part of like a PC bundle, basically. It came with a bunch of other games in a cardboard box, with like 6 discs in the cardboard box, like an adventure bundle set or something.
Nice.
But it's not something I've jumped into more than that. So on like the topic of returning to old games, I'm not necessarily returning to it, but experiencing it kind of anew, because it's been such a long time since I played something like that or played a Broken Sword game. So it's a weird one, especially now that we're getting kind of libraries of games for free, depending on what subscription service that you're on, and the ability to be able to go, I'll just dip into this or just dip into that kind of thing without having to buy a remaster or go back and buy an old game or emulate it in some kind of way, and having the hassle around kind of doing that. But yeah, looking forward to a remastered sort of Broken Sword, just to see, is this what I remember from my experience with it or not? Will I spend 5 minutes with it? Maybe. Will I spend 5 hours with it? Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, absolutely.
I think the second one's better.
Okay.
But yeah, those are some good wholesome games.
Nice. Cool. I don't think there was anything else really from Gamescom.
No, I don't recall anything. And if I do, it would probably be in like some random indie stream that I didn't catch or something like that.
I think
nothing from the big Keighley show.
There's still a few more streams to come, personally. I think, isn't there?
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yes. I won't find it now. I have to trawl through emails to be able to find it. But was it the
Xbox one yesterday? I didn't catch that one at all. So I think Xbox have already done theirs.
Right.
If PlayStation are doing any, I don't know. Gamescom is not really a.
No. I mean, they might hit Tokyo Game Show maybe, but they've sort of pulled back. PlayStation pulled back from the kind of the convention scene almost completely.
I think it's only Xbox out of the big three who actually does anything at Gamescom now. So,
And again, that was a lot more Starfield, wasn't it? Really, which I don't think we need to see much more of.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it was out in like what, 2 weeks. Jeez, come around quick, hasn't it?
It has, yeah, absolutely. Starfield seems like one of those that we've heard about 4 or 5 years ago. In reality, have we actually? Maybe it was 18 months ago that it was announced, or 2 years ago, or something like that. And really, that time has gone very, very quickly. So, yeah, September.
I don't know. It feels like we have heard about it for forever. I guess for people who are like champing at the bit and really want to play it, like it's probably felt like a lifetime. But yeah, I'm just like, why? I'll play it when it comes out. You know, just like I'm not particularly excited for it. Like I think what it promises is incredible, but it's like, will they, you know, come through with that? Possibly not. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it's just going to be a fun game to jump into, regardless whether it, you know, reaches all those insane promises. It's just going to be. I'm just going to have like a weird space farm that just has pumpkins or something like that. So it's just like space gourds and just chill.
It will be incredibly interesting to see the discourse around the game. And the kind of obvious comparisons of, you know, Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, or Oblivion, or whatever that kind of thing pulls up, but then also the slightly more recent sci-fi games like No Man's Sky, those kinds of things, which has evolved into this absolutely insane kind of thing. But it will be interesting to see where those conversations go, and listening to this conversation from people who have a finger in No Man's Sky and then go and play Starfield and kind of have that direct comparison, or people who are just like die-hard Skyrim people who are like, we don't like Starfield because it doesn't quite do this same system in this way, blah.
Yeah, so there are going to be those nerds who are like, oh, the physics in the dogfighting are slightly off, or the G-force, it's not correct, whatever. But it's just...
my flight stick doesn't work with this game.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know, Skyrim, like, when I first got it, I rented it, and I had a hot and heavy, like, 2 weeks with Skyrim, so it's like, and I really loved and enjoyed that game, but it's just, I want to stew in it. I want to stew in something. And I think maybe this is this stew game. Because like, with Elden Ring, like, I hadn't gone back to it, and it's like, I think it's more of a learning curve. It's like, you're going to have to get good at the combat again.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I've seen enough of that game to know it's like one of the best games of all time anyway. I don't know if you've gone back to it recently.
Not Elden Ring, no.
Yeah.
No. But I did have Steam up just now. The last time I played Elden Ring was back in February. So when I had had a hot and heavy relationship with it, playing it quite a lot at the start of the year. I think I picked it up end of December and played it for a good 2 month kind of period. I don't know what came along. February's kind of when work ramped. Yeah, February's when work ramped up. So it could be that everything just stepped up a notch. Because my Steam library is quite sparse. Going all the way back to Elden Ring. Lots of games that I played a tiny amount of, basically.
Yeah. So, but it's one of those where it's like it's a bit daunting to go back to, whereas something like Tears of the Kingdom feels like I can get back into this when I want to, but also do I want to? Whereas I hope Starfield. I hope Starfield is a game where it's like I can just dip into this whenever I want because there's no massive learning curve or anything like that, and just stew in its world every now and then. So I'm hoping that's the game. I think I set it to download, pre-download,
Oh, nice.
but then
Okay.
I think I paused it because it was eating up my bandwidth. So I need to start that again between now and
Oh,
2 weeks. So.
How big is it? Do you know?
I think it was like 105 or something like that.
Okay.
So, yeah, something around that, which is still smaller than Flight Simulator.
Yeah. It is the game that I think it's one of those where I'll wait that first week, wait to hear what you think about it, and what others think about it before signing back up to Game Pass for a couple of months. There's something else coming out just after Starfield as well, which might coincide with like a 2 or 3 month kind of Game Pass period. I can't remember what it is. We talked about it a few weeks back. But you know, you can get sort of a 2 for 1 almost, I guess, on a few months of Game Pass with something else coming out. But it's one that's kind of in the back of my mind a little bit. I'm like, I'll experience it. You know,
same. Just I'll dip into it. I think knowing that it's on Game Pass gives that extra like comfort, where it's like I can just dip into this anytime because it's staying there. It's not ever going to leave because it's a Bethesda game and they're owned by Microsoft. So it's just like and you know, not hearing the discourse is nice because as some of it is like very, you know, cool and you know, sometimes you want to be part of that zeitgeist, but I'm just like, nah, like just mute everything. It's like I don't care what anyone has to think, has to say about these games. I just want to, because it's just so spoilery. And it's like for open world games like Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that, it's just like you just want to discover these things on your own.
Absolutely. No, I think for Starfield, because no one, I mean, some people might have that game already, with it being a September kind of release. You know, it might be with the major outlets.
I think somebody wrote street date on that.
Yeah, but a lot of the opinion you're going to get now isn't based in people actually playing the game. It's more just opinion of what people have seen and those kinds of things. So it's
or even the critics. It's just like I don't care if it's good. I just want to see this weird thought experiment scene, because it is, you know, you forget how big it is, and you forget how like big like Bethesda Studios' games are, which is kind of weird because they've only put out like 3 good games that were like massive hits, you know, like nobody liked Fallout 4.
Fallout 3
so
is
like
kind
Fallout
of critically acclaimed. Yeah, absolutely.
Fallout 3, they didn't do Vegas.
No.
So it's Fallout 3. I guess back in the day they did Oblivion and the other one, Morrowind and stuff like that. So those were big. So I get it. It just takes me a while to be like, oh yeah, I guess these games are big because Skyrim was absolutely massive and people still play it now.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh yeah. Cool.
Again, it's going to be even just the discourse around the jank and
that I'm here for.
Quality of how it's going to be, knowing how Fallout 3, 4, Oblivion, Skyrim, how all of those games, well, maybe not Oblivion so much.
I'll look at the bug compilation videos. I'll look at those.
People's spaceships, they're just chilling out on a planet, hanging in their base, and their spaceship just bounces into space without them. It's just like,
it's the gravity. It's you know, their face is like over here and they're T-posing. It's the gravity, you know.
Just a head in the ground. I hope it's so janky. Not for the people at Bethesda,
that would be funny.
But it's you know, and again, we know that Skyrim almost has this bit of a past. It's almost that little bit endearing that it is a little bit kind of janky.
Just like, is this going to break on me today? And it's like, when it doesn't, it's like, oh, this is the best experience ever.
Yeah. Good.
Mm.
I have played a game. I should talk about a game that I have played.
Alright.
I haven't finished
Okay.
said game, but I've been playing Somerville, which is a game from
Oh,
last
yes.
year, an adventure game from last year, which is coming out on PlayStation. I think at the end of August. So I got a code to be able to play it on PlayStation. Playing it on PS4. I think it's going to both 4 and 5. And I'm liking it. I'm really liking it.
Okay. That gives me cause to go back because I
It's
fell
a
off
little bit.
almost immediately.
It's a little bit lacking. So
Yeah.
it's an adventure game, but it's very limited in what you're actually kind of doing. Somerville gives you this very sci-fi vibe straight away, and it is kind of like a sci-fi adventure. It's not an action adventure game. It's more of a follow the designated path and solve some puzzles on the way kind of adventure game. You know, how to progress through this area. You've got to do X, Y, and Z whilst not being caught by this, you know, beam that's sort of chasing you around. And the kind of the gameplay is a little bit lacking, but the environment and the world and the music and just the tone that the game sets is really, really good. Like it very much has this kind of, you know, almost aping kind of War of the Worlds kind of vibe to it in its sort of setting.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It builds on that little bit more by kind of isolating the character that you're kind of playing as and pushing you through these kind of, you know, obviously ridiculous scenarios, but kind of scenario in that you've somehow communed with one of these invaders and picked up these powers to be able to move through these spaces, and that evolves a little bit as well. Like, you know, you pick up additional power as you kind of move through the game, but it is quite limited in where you can go and what you can do. It is following the set path, experiencing the story. So I wanted to check in earlier just to see how far through I was. So I looked at how long to beat. I looked at how many chapters the game has as well. And something flashed up to say that there are multiple endings to this game. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know what choices I have made to get said ending. And that's fine. Like, that's absolutely fine. You know, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to get the ending that I get. I'm probably not going to go back.
Maybe it could just be something in like the last scene and you pick A, B, or C.
Yeah, potentially. There are a couple of like not alternating paths to take, but there are a couple of paths that take you onto different areas to uncover a couple of different things, whether it's the you know, accumulation of uncovering stuff, or, you know, opening up areas without any seemingly kind of new path that's opened, but opening it up anyway kind of thing, or doing stuff in certain sequences. I don't know, but there are multiple endings to this game, and I already know that I'm just going to get the ending that I get, and that will be it. You know, I've experienced the story in this way. One of the good things, again, and I think it pulls back to maybe some of the writing, but very much more that kind of tone that it sets. Halfway through, maybe a little kind of further on, was a point that I actually not necessarily teared up, but it kind of hit me a little bit emotionally. It definitely got me kind of, you know, my lip was kind of, it was there. And this is actually, you know, it is doing something. It is telling a very specific story in a very specific kind of order, but it's doing it well enough that it's pulling me through it. And some of the puzzles are, you know, engaging enough. There's nothing massively complex. There's nothing that's going to tax you a huge amount. Most of the solutions you could kind of blunt kind of force by just doing things around the space. So I am a bit mixed on it at the moment.
Yeah. My original thoughts, because I fell off it pretty quickly within like the first half an hour. Because I thought it started really strong.
Yeah.
Like very, as you say, War of the Worlds horror inspired, and then it's like I don't know if it can quite achieve the kind of like tension that it had in that original like sequence. Have you encountered that where it's like you feel tense and a bit like ooh,
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
okay,
I
well that's
have.
promising.
I think the difficulty with the game like that is it can give you those tense moments. It's not like a Resident Evil game where you have those tense moments where nothing is happening and then suddenly, bam, here is Mr. X, here is a liquor, here is something that's kind of around the corner waiting for you. It builds, and you know that stuff is kind of coming, but suddenly there will be a sequence where you're like, shit. However, and I think it's a bit to the game's detriment, the checkpointing is really good. And it's what you would think is really good in another game. But actually, there's this really tense bit, and bam, you get hit. And you just start back at the beginning of that very tense bit, and it just takes all of that tension out completely. Because you're like, right, cool, I just need to get through in this kind of way.
And I get that, and I think in most games that would be the case. But I was coming into this game knowing that one of the creators of like Inside was attached to this project, and Inside, you know, it has that tension where and still good checkpointing. It's like, yes, when you die and see this poor boy ripped to shreds or whatever, or die in these very awful ways, you do go back to that checkpoint, but it's still like that game is all tension all the way through. And a lot of that has to do with like the music and the atmosphere and just like everything's just fantastic about it. I mean, that is probably the only game that I would describe as perfect through and through. But I think maybe a bit more removed, knowing that it's like, okay, it's not going to reach those heights. And like something like Planet of Lana, which was very, I guess, a little by the numbers, and it's like you're just working through, and it's like you already know the solution to the puzzle before you even reach that like kind of crossroads. Maybe going in with that frame of mind where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, I'm not gonna get much tension or anything out of this. It's not gonna be like a completely mind-blowing experience like Inside, but it'll just be a decent platform. Well, it's not a puzzle platformer, but like side scroller, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe if I went in with those expectations now rather than originally, I'd have a bit of time with it.
Interestingly, you're saying about someone from the Inside development team being attached to it. It did remind me of Inside, as I was kind of playing. You know, maybe not the first kind of hour, but as it was progressing through, it gave me little flashbacks of Inside. So it definitely, again, someone who has played Inside, and I would imagine if you'd stuck through maybe a little bit more, you would get to that point where you feel that tension that little bit more, and stuff progresses, and it isn't a kind of, you know, there's a lot of downtime in this where you're kind of just wandering and stuff. But it starts to, I think it does it well enough that tension builds, then actually the tension and something has happened and you're on edge, and actually it dials stuff down, but only enough that you're still kind of like just on edge that little bit. You're like, it feels like something could happen.
Yeah. Well, I'd be meaning to get back to it because it you know, I do want to give it a longer shot than I did. But yeah, I think it was, I mean, not every game, you know, I know not every game can beat Inside because it's a perfect game and those only come around every now and then. But it's like, yeah, I think it was just a bit jarring to go from what I think is like one of the best games ever made to something that is like even below my expectations for a side scroller.
Right. Okay.
But I'll give it another shot because yeah, like the opening was super strong and you know it looked promising. Maybe it was the dog. Maybe I thought, oh, this can't be too scary. You have Lassie here next to you.
The dog disappears for a little bit.
Oh, good. Okay, that sounds scarier.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get to, so there's a kind of a sequence where you go through some caves, and the dog disappears for that. So the character is very much alone, and that's when the tension sort of kicks up that little bit.
Yeah.
How long to beat? Said it was about 4 hours, I think. I feel like I've been playing for about 3, but chapter-wise, because I had a look, it doesn't feel like I'm halfway through. So maybe the second sort of sets of chapters move a lot quicker than the sort of the first half, or
you're
something
just
like that,
taking your sweet time, Ben.
Yeah,
you're just taking your sweet time.
And it's just taking me out.
Yeah, you just walk on the game.
Yeah, just walking really. So I haven't found the run button yet. That is one of the not criticisms of it, is that the character moves through spaces at the character's own pace. So if it's a run sequence, the character will run. If it ain't, he's just wandering around. And I'm like, but I've only got to go from here to here, so let me just run, please, rather than this very light kind of jog that I'm sort of doing.
He seems very much like he's just going on a walk if it's dark, rather than the world's ending.
Very much. And again, I suppose for me, that tone and stuff, you know, the game opens up and you play as the baby to start with, moving around the house, kind of exploring really what's going on in the house before you switch over to the dad. And then, you know, stuff happens and you're kind of by yourself. And it very much kind of like set that tone instantly. And I'm like, this would be shit. If something happened, if they're not necessarily sci-fi fucking alien invasion, but if some kind of catastrophe happened and I'm by myself and my family is somewhere else, I would feel like shit. And I would
especially just be your cat as well, which would be no help.
He'd be such a cunt. He'd just meow at me constantly. It's like, be quiet. The space aliens fucking, anytime a noise happens, that's when they fucking pop up. So shut the fuck up. And he wouldn't. He'd just chat at me. The
cat would probably join the aliens and be like, I know where he is. Just give me.
He hasn't fed me in 4 days. Fucking kill him.
Give me 2 packets of food, and I'll tell you where he is.
Make me king of the world. Like every cat would do that. You know, just fucking. They
wouldn't be part of the resistance. They'd just join the mothership and just kill us all. They'd be on the death race. They'd be shooting at us.
Interesting. I thought it was going to go more down that War of the Worlds kind of route. You know, the idea of kind of you being the protagonist and finding a way to kind of defeat them, and I don't know whether it's actually going to do that. You know, it very much sets itself as a game where you are this dad, and the journey is him waking up and being like, shit, where is everybody? I just want to make it to my family. And I don't know whether there's like a turning point in that. I don't know whether it turns into, oh shit, I can do stuff, so let's do stuff. Or whether it is just, you know, again, with those 5, 6 endings that the game kind of has, maybe there is that little bit of variation to it. But I would imagine, you know, that kind of middle of the road kind of ending is, I found my family and we are okay. You're like, good, great. That's actually all I wanted from this. I just want you to be back with your family. To find your child again. That's all I give a shit about. Sacrifice
the baby, the wife, or the dog. It's one of the 3.
I mean,
you can only take one.
Yeah. Sorry, I could only fit one of you on my back, and it's the dog.
He takes the dog. Yeah. The dog who's just been with all this time is like, I found you too, but actually, I'd rather just be the dog.
Yeah. Good. Maybe some additional thoughts next week when I have finished. I'm playing. I have started Oxenfree 2 as well because I'm playing that on PC.
On Netflix?
No, just playing it on Steam.
Oh, nice, cool.
I hadn't realised. Is it Night School Studio, Night Studio
right, yeah.
Games, Night Owl Studio, Night Owl School Studio, something like that. It pops up and they are a Netflix game studio.
Yes, they are. They
So
years ago.
Be interesting. I hadn't really thought about it, and it's kind of a final thought because I'll talk about Oxenfree 2 next week. I have a final thought on this. Interesting to see how Netflix fare picking up game studios with the way that Apple have kind of worked and the way that Google have absolutely just fucked it for a bunch of studios and stuff, you know, picking them up, making exclusive games, and then just fucking dying completely. So
I mean, I just saw a headline that Netflix have put out a game for like a Love is Blind game, which is just like probably going to be one of those that you see like the weird advertisements on like the App Store for, where it's like, oh, play a dating, not even a life sim or what, and they're just terrible. It's just, if they're going for that crowd now, I doubt they'll leave. I think they'll probably be better suited going after the hardcore gamers than
potentially. I would imagine that they've looked at Google and gone, that was kind of Google's strategy, you know, going for these bigger games, going for the hardcore gamer. Actually, we need to broaden a little bit. How many people have Netflix? How many people have it on their phone? How many people want to play like Bejeweled? Let's just make a fucking Bejeweled game. You know, like I can see them going down that path. You know, people browsing Netflix, thinking, "Oh, what shall I watch? What shall I watch?" And Netflix changing its algorithm in a way to being like, "You have scrolled through 25 different programs and you haven't watched any. Here is a game that we have made."
Yeah,
and people going, "Yeah, actually, I'll spend 20 minutes just bopping about in something."
But it just seems like it's so poorly advertised and so poorly integrated into the Netflix like ecosystem, because
absolutely,
you have to like go to the App Store, at least on this. I mean, I don't know if it's different for Android because of how Apple are crap and do weird things, but you have to go into the App Store and then search Oxenfree 2 Netflix, and it's like, well, it's not compatible with my iPad for starters. My iPad's too old, but it's like I don't want to play it on my phone. I think I was reading something about they're going to start streaming offer streaming for their games.
I mean, that makes sense.
Which is like, why didn't you do that originally?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if I'm in the app on, like, this is how stupid it is. I'm in the app. I watch Netflix via my Xbox, and then I can't just launch a game and stream it the same way. I mean, I don't expect to download it, that's fine. But just, why can't I just stream it? You know that I'm using a Xbox controller to operate this interface. Why don't you just let me stream the game from there? But it's like, no, go to your phone, and then you have to go to the App Store, and then you have to search very specifically that you want Netflix Oxenfree 2. And then download it, and then log into your Netflix account, and oh my god! And by the time you're there, you're just like, what? It's midnight, and you have to go to sleep.
At least on Android, if you're in Netflix and you go to Oxenfree 2 and you hit Get Game, it just takes you straight to the Google Play page, and you are installing it. But if it's all on your phone, at least you install it, and then you can just play it sort of straight away.
Because it's like these. I mean, with something like Oxenfree 2, that's literally on like everything. So it's like, you know, running the code surely isn't that hard to like make it available to download if you're using Netflix via PlayStation or Xbox or.
But again, clever of Netflix to put it on everything, rather than like Google closing it off in their own ecosystem. You have to sign up to Stadia. You have to have that service. You either have to be paying their subscription to be able to get certain games rather than buying them, and all of that sort of shit, and just closing it off at every door. At least Netflix, like, we are entering this space. We have brought some game studios. They have made a game. Here it is. Get it to where you play games. If you have a Netflix subscription, you can play it on your phone, on your tablet, on said thing, and install it through Android or iOS, or go and buy it on PlayStation or PC or Xbox or wherever you play, which again is a much better strategy than Google kind of implemented. So at least they've learned something. Someone has learned something from Stadia.
As well. I mean, that doesn't. Well, I know it doesn't make sense to the whole subscription model, but like Into the Breach, I put like many hours into that on the Netflix, via the Netflix thing, because that's where they release their mobile thingy. Oh, download Into the Breach.
I don't know if they are a Netflix studio, but I have been seeing a lot of promotion for WrestleQuest. And that has popped up as a Netflix game.
Oh, nice.
So, or at least it's available through Netflix, so I can play WrestleQuest on my phone if I wanted.
Well, that's what they should do. Like, if it's if they've got that, if it's already ported to mobile or something like that, they should just be like, can we put this just the same as the way Game Pass does? It's like, can we put this on our service, please? Can we put this on our service?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just have a quick look on Steam. WrestleQuest is interesting. WrestleQuest on Steam is by Megacat Studios, published by Skybound Games. Came out 2 days ago. On Netflix, it says it is developed by Illogica. So maybe it's a port for Netflix on phones. It looks incredibly similar. Looking at the trailer on Steam and looking at the stills and the trailers on whilst I'm in Netflix, it's identical as a aesthetic and as a game.
So they just ported it,
but maybe they just ported it, perhaps.
But that's what they should do. And I mean,
it's free on my phone. It's 20 quid on Steam. So if I'm going to play that game, probably play it on my phone.
Dip into it at least and try it on your phone for free. See if you vibe with it. Yeah,
absolutely. Good. Let's finish there for this week. Let's return to the beers. First, was it Tropic of Now from Brulo?
Yeah. Really good. Really good. I've just been sucking on it slowly because I want to, as you say, savor it. But I could have knocked it back very easily in like 2 gulps. I looked on their website and I don't see this one. Maybe it was like one of their temporary brews, but I mean, I'd be happy to try more Brulos out because I think this is the one that I've narrowed in on. Like, if I was to have like non-alcoholic beer, these are the guys, because the beers just taste better than any other offerings that I've had. So yeah,
nice, good. I think for me, the Cloudwater and Other Half DIPA version 14, it hit all the notes I wanted it to. It did mellow out towards the end. Maybe the last third kind of mellowed slightly. You weren't getting that kind of hit and journey that it kind of first takes you through, of being that little bit of bitter, and then you're getting the fruits and it mellowing into the 2. It just mellowed across every kind of sip into being a little bit more of that kind of ripe melon as a kind of a flavour with a little bit of sweet mango in there as well, perhaps. But it does dull very slightly as it mellows as well. So kind of the highs that you're getting when you first sort of drink it, and same as most beers to be fair, disappear towards the back end or final kind of third. But they're still good enough that I had no hesitation in absolutely nailing it. So I'm glad Cloudwater have decided to pick this back up again. Let's see where it goes or what happens. I haven't had a Cloudwater beer for a while. And you know, who knows? Is it a bit of a gimmick to generate, you know, sales and that kind of thing? Who gives a shit? Just, I love people making new beers, and you know, we haven't had that kind of like event beer, or it feels like we haven't had that kind of event beer for a while. That's been
around for us at least. That we're interested in specifically. I need to see what's going on in the beer world. What's hot now?
Yes.
I feel like I don't know.
It is as a final comment on beer, the East Bristol Brewery Trail this coming weekend again, because it's a bank holiday. I'm going down on Saturday with some friends, and I believe it coincides with Good Chemistry's 8th birthday, and they brewed a beer for that. So hopefully that will be on offer. If not, I'll probably pick up a can or something and have it in the kind of the coming weeks. But yeah, always nice for things to just fall into place, really. Be like, oh, they've made a special beer. I'm going down there. Let's drink the special beer. Sure. Event beer that I don't have to chase. Just happens to fall in my path, which is nice. So yes, more beers to come.
Beer's
more games to come, potentially.
Beer's fantastic.
Absolutely.
I love beer.
Completely agree.
You know what I mean? Like, we have a whole podcast about it. It's great. Who'd have thought?
It is. And friends, if you love beer, you can let us know at Tanked Up Cast on all of the socials. You can get me at Nova_47 and Lucy at
Juicy Loose 9.
You can also go to outoflives.net to look at historic things, because I can't get on there at the moment because something's fucked up and I can't actually upload fucking anything. So if you join us in Twitch, episodes are going up on YouTube. Previous episodes are going up on YouTube at the moment, and they will be hitting people's podcast service of choice very, very soon when I have access again. We've got including this one, we've got 4 episodes to go up over the next 2 weeks.
Damn.
So they will be being pushed.
Y'all will have a
search for Tanked Up on your podcast service of choice. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining us. We will see you again very soon. As I say, let us know what you're drinking, what games you're playing, what you're up to, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you for joining us. We've been Tanked Up. Goodbye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net